Hello and welcome to the kitchen table. I'm Alison, Team Vicar in Knocksham Team Ministry, and it's really good to gather together again. Today is Tuesday and we're thinking again about life and faith. Today in particular I'm going to be thinking about the difference between faith and trust. A friend of mine sent me a message the other day, and she had been on an early morning walk where the light was just incredible, and she was walking along thinking about the difference between faith and trust. So sent me a text saying, would you talk about that? Always up for a challenge. The difference between faith and trust. We're told to trust in God. In Proverbs chapter 3, it says in verse 5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your paths straight. How easy is it to do that? Faith is something that we believe. Faith is something that we believe without having positive proof. Trust is something different to that. So you can believe in God, you can believe in the existence of God. But making that move between faith, which is a belief in God, into trust, really surrendering to God, is a very different thing. In my downstairs loo, we have a photograph of somebody walking a tightrope. He's actually letting the rope go as he walks along it. But I was thinking the other day of a story I'd heard a long time ago about the guy who used to walk across the Grand Canyon on a tightrope doing all sorts of tricks. Loudon, I think his name was. Anyway, he was there and he asked the crowds if they wanted to see him push a wheelbarrow. Yes, they cried. They had faith that he would actually manage to walk that tightrope pushing a barrow. Then he said, who would like to come and get in it? Silence. The difference between faith and trust. It's huge, isn't it? When I first became a Christian, when I started to know God in my life, I had quite a clear understanding of who I thought God was for me, my relationship with Jesus. It wasn't until a bit further along my journey and when I started to respond to a call in my life that I was really challenged by trusting in Jesus, trusting in God with my life and Derek with his life. We had decided that we would explore, or I would explore, ministry, but together that would meant a huge move. We would move from where we lived in the security of our family, and we would move to Birmingham, and that meant Derek would need to find work. We had to make a decision, and before I went to my panel we decided that we would step out in faith. Derek applied for a job. I had no idea whether my call was going to be recognised by others or not. Derek found himself a job working in the local Methodist circuit, and we packed boxes. And we actually wrote on our boxes Queens, which is where I would study if I got through panel, or question mark. And it meant that we had no idea. We'd arranged with friends to put our boxes, everything of our lives, in their lofts if I didn't get through selection, and we would go and Derek would take up his post in Birmingham. We didn't know, but we trusted that the sense of call that I had was very real, and it really felt as though God was saying, this is what I want from you. So we trusted. For me, that was a huge lesson. And all was well. I got through into training and we moved to Queens, taking all our boxes with us. We are living in such strange times now. People are in times of real uncertainty. Not just worry about health, whether you are going to catch a virus or whether you're not, whether you're going to be affected by the loss of a loved one to this virus, whether you're economically really in a difficult position? How are you paying for things? How are you going to work? Will the world ever look the same when it's finished? All of those are huge questions and very real. And all of those are things that we worry about. Having faith in God doesn't mean that we don't worry. Having trust is different. Having trust is about that commitment to trusting that all will be well. It might not be the same. It might look very different for all of us, but it will be okay. That is a challenge. Easier said than done. And I think our world will look very different. Our churches will look very different. I'm sat talking to you across the airwaves from my kitchen table, engaging with people that might never walk through the door of my church usually. And it's really great that we are able to have these conversations. And they're conversations that need to carry on, and I hope will carry on afterwards. The way the church responds to doing things will be different. Tradition has been nudged, and we've really come to understand that church is not about buildings beautiful as they are, but church is about the people. And whether we're sat in pews or sat in kitchens or living rooms or gardens, wherever we find ourselves thinking about God, engaging with the questions of faith and trust, then that is church. And that is what God has in mind for his world. The people of God sharing their stories, spreading the news, and deepening their faith and exploring their trust. You can believe in something, but to trust in something, you have to understand the integrity and the character of the one that you are trusting. My journey with Jesus has been one that has deepened that understanding of his character, his desire for me to have the most abundant life I can have, whatever that might look like. That's what Jesus wants for you and for me. And in these times of uncertainty, when we feel like there is no control, there are no easy answers, we cannot plan, we have to adapt, and we have to understand that we are being held in that. We have to trust that God has got that bigger picture and will not leave us. But also to trust that that might look very different. Church in the 21st century, from 2020, has got a different face than it had in 2019. That face is a face of a million faces, connected maybe in little boxes all over the place. But it is the face of faith and trust. And it's about that I was wanting to leave you with today. I would really wish for you to spend the time that you have in your own homes to think about that difference between faith and trust, and to get to know the character of the God who loves you, so that you might truly know how to trust in him. Amen.